Hello, hello, hello. What's up, everyone? I hope you're all doing well. Is my stream? Oh, give me 1 second, guys. I think I have to fix something. I'll be back in a bit, but we should be live. I think my stream is lagging. Uh, so what's up, everyone? In the meantime, I hope you're all doing well. Give me 30 seconds. I just have to check something. Just let me type it on the chart before we start. Dude, where's the text, man? This is already how I start the stream. This is amazing. Be right back. How do I make this bigger? So I hope you're all doing well. 1 second, guys. Yo, 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 what's up? Let me check now. Is it all good from your side? Okay, it should be good right now, if I'm not mistaken. Hello, Jean-Pierre. It's good to see you. Hello, everyone else that is watching right now. Could you guys confirm that everything is good? The sound, the video, nothing is lagging? And then, of course, we'll dive into everything. Very nice low predicted last Sunday when everyone was bearish because of the war. Yes, hi, hello, hello, Kajus. I don't know how to say your name, but it's nice to see you. I do remember you as well. So, with that said, as I was saying, I hope that everyone had a great weekend in this crazy world, right? The war is still going on, so I do hope that everyone is safe, that your family is safe, especially if you have people in the Middle East. So, with that said, we'll start as usual with the announcements, we'll dive into the weekly recap, and finally, we will cover today's price action and what we can expect for this week. For the announcements, you guys already know, if you want to trade with a 30% fee discount on Bitfinex, you can do so with the referral link, which is available in the description of the live stream. And of course, if you want access to my indicator, which as usual helps us predict very good highs and lows, including this low that we predicted last Sunday, and the high on Binance, which, well, offered a pretty big drop after these three imbalances at the highs. The link will also be available in the description of the live stream. So, for the weekly recap, well, last week, if you remember, guys, pretty much everyone was expecting lower prices. But what did I want to see? It's right there. Sunday plan. We had one plan. I wanted to see a drop into 65.5. We had this wickless 4-hour candle. I'm going to add it at $71,000. And that's pretty much what I wanted to see. A drop into 65.5 to form a Monday low. Unfortunately, it happened on Sunday to get the bounce up into $71,000, and from there, that's where I wanted to see lower prices. Now, if we go into the Discord, of course, this week, as you can see, wasn't the easiest to trade. So personally, what did I do? For the I'm out of breath, guys. So for the long, I did miss it. Well, one, it happened on Sunday. But two, if we remember what I said last live stream, is that personally I wasn't super interested in that long position because it wasn't a very easy one, okay? Even though I just had one level, it wasn't the easiest long to catch, especially that the reaction was a bit too quick in my view. But what I said was that if you were in a short position from up there, which personally I had missed, so if you were in a short position, it was a very good idea. That's what I said, it was a good idea to hedge with a long position. So if you followed this advice, right? So if you were in a short from the high or anything, so anywhere from this range, that would have been a very, very good long position because from there, Bitcoin pretty much moves straight up. Now, we got the bounce from there, okay, which I had missed. I mean, that was literally Monday morning. We already had a bounce of like 4%, which is massive. Okay. After that, we moved into $71,000. I took my short position and instantly placed my stop loss pretty much at entry. As you can see, my entry is the solid red line, and that's my stop loss. It's the dotted line. So I had my stop loss right at entry. Why did I move it to entry so quick? Well, I talked about this later in the general chat. It was a bit too early to top out, in my opinion. So even though I took the short, it was too early to see a drop. Now the volume was good, which is why I didn't mind taking that short position. I took it, but then we got a very strong reversal to the upside. We will talk about the imbalances in a bit, but we had the reversal to the upside and I got stopped out of my short position. I should have shared my trade. I don't know why I didn't. That's my bad. But yeah, I got stopped out. Then we got another drop to the downside after having seen this pretty ugly wick lower. And from there, mainly, I was just waiting for a second short. On Thursday, that's the setup that I identified that was on Thursday. I was interested in shorts, and that's what I wanted to see, a move back above that high at 70.9. But then price dropped first. We had yet more imbalances to the downside. As you can see this week, we had zero imbalance to the upside. Look up here, no imbalance, no imbalance, no imbalance, no imbalance. All of the imbalances were appearing to the downside, to the downside, to the downside, and to the downside. So when I saw this, combined with the timing that it was too late to drop for Thursday, okay, so the timing wasn't great, the setup that I gave a bit earlier was invalidated. And being patient was the right idea, because guess what happened? After that, we moved straight up into $74,000. I was ideally waiting for this week above $74,000. So I had two levels, 76k, and then of course the sweep of $74,000, which was right there. I was waiting for the sweep, but unfortunately Binance got a bit too crazy at the highs. We will cover this on the chart, and I was able to catch my short a bit lower. Of course, not the best entry, but I don't really mind it. I was patient the entire week, so I just gave a shot at a second short position. I am still in that short. My stop loss remains above that high, which I will go over on the charts. Okay, my stop loss was kept as shown in the charts. Let's go over to Bitcoin. I can remove, let me drink some water. So I can remove the Sunday plan, I can remove 71, and my stop loss pretty much remains right on this high at $72,800. Okay, so it will be a loss if I get stopped out. I'm not moving my stop loss to entry because I believe that we could maybe get a bit more shenanigans before we drop to the downside. But overall, as I said, it was just a week to remain patient. We can cover the imbalances quickly. They always give you the clue. Look, this imbalance was just too much. It offered a pretty strong bounce. We had another imbalance. We had two imbalances right there, a third one after. I almost longed this drop. Why? Because we had taken this ugly wick, which was on the 4-hour chart. So we had taken this very ugly wick. That's the setup that I want you guys to be aware of. We had taken the ugly wick. We had a 30-minute imbalance right below it, which got filled to the dollar. We had two imbalances. I almost took that long position, but unfortunately I didn't. It would have been a pretty good trade and I would have been hedged for my short position. But as you can see, imbalances as always dictate the market. It was purely imbalances based my analysis. We had the imbalance to the downside, so I wanted to wait for a bigger chop to the upside, which we got. And finally, before we cover today's price action, Binance. You could have been aggressive with the entry because 3 imbalances in a row with small bodies. Okay, I'm not talking about candles getting large bodies. I'm talking about small bodies. This is always a sign of a buying climax. But for myself, I was just waiting for a sweep above that high, which we talked about in the Discord. I was waiting for a sweep above that high, which got front run. And that's why I ended up taking my short down there. So I was a bit late on the lower time frame, but of course on the higher time frames, we have to keep the context in mind. And guess what? We got actually a 4-hour imbalance. We will dive into this. But guess what is happening on the higher time frame? I mean, the range low is at $60,000 and I'm shorting at $72,000. So am I late? Not really. And that's what you can do if you stay patient. Okay, guys? Because if you took shorts too early and you got stopped out, okay, then it's just much harder mentally to catch a second short position. That's a setup that I saw a lot on Twitter. I'm not joking. I saw like 8 accounts share the exact same short. It was the range high, right? That's the range high, obviously. It was the range high, and stop loss was right above this high. I don't know why they picked this high, but anyways, it was this high. That was their short. I mean, these people got stopped out right at the high before we got the reversal to the downside. So if you were in that position of shorting too early, that's why you have to wait for the imbalances. We got the imbalance right at the high, and that's why I was telling you the entire week, wait for the imbalances. Okay, guys? And of course, I was updating you throughout. When we got at the high, that's when we got the 4-hour imbalance, and that's when I started mentioning the volume starting to come in, okay? So all you had to do was remain patient. Now with that said, enough yapping about what happened this week. Again, personally, I am still in my short position. Stop loss around $72,900. And what can you expect this week? Should you expect a sweep of that double top, or should you expect lower prices? Now, the first thing that I want to say is that this setup does kind of remind me of the short that we shared at the all-time high. Okay, with a voice crack, very nice. So if you remember our Sunday live stream right up there, we did it right around this candle, I remember. Even though we had already had the sweep of the prior all-time high, which is of course a major liquidity sweep, even though we had the first sweep, what I wanted to see was a second sweep on Monday, which we got. Okay, so we got the Monday high, as I usually look for Monday pivots. So we got the Friday high, we went sideways, we got one more sweep. This setup does kind of remind me of that, where we got the Friday high, but then price offered a small drop and then is going sideways. The reason that this time I've taken the short and I'm not closing it is because I think this one is just a bit different. I don't think people are super bullish, which is what people were at the all-time high, which is why we got one more liquidity sweep, because that was a massive bull trap. This time, I think people are much more cautious, and a lot of people are waiting for the sweep of that high. And personally as well, I was waiting for the sweep of that high. You guys know, that's why I got my short a bit lower. So I myself, again, was waiting for the sweep, but I guess you could say quick enough to catch a short down there, because I realized that, okay, we front ran the high, we had very good volume on the 4-hour, on the 1-hour, and on the 30 minutes chart, we had very good volume. So when I saw the rejection, I just told myself it was okay to try my luck at a short position. Of course, it's not luck, but you get what I'm saying. So basically what I'm trying to say is that I would like this double top to be left alone, especially now that we have a 4-hour imbalance up here. Okay, so with that said, what we can outline this week is, to the downside, in my opinion, we have one major level, which is this one. 1-hour imbalance, 1-hour order block. On the higher time frames, I do believe that we have a value area high. So if you take off this range, you can see we have the value area high in this area. So that will be a massive level, in my opinion, to hold as support. Am I going to long it? No. But $70,100 is a level that I want to keep in mind, just as a reference point. If you guys want to try a long, you can. For me, I'm just not interested in longs up here. It's just too late to open a long, in my opinion. So that is the massive level for this week, which I have to say I am expecting to get tested as well. So I do believe on the lower time frame that we will get a drop into that level. So from there, even though this level has not been lost yet, my bias should be that this is the top, and going back to my higher time frame plan that I outlined on Binance, I would like to see a drop back to the range lows. So what will be the weekly plan? I think we are in the process of topping out, especially that now we are seeing a 4-hour imbalance. So I think that we are in the process of topping out. And what I would like to see honestly is just straight down. So drop tomorrow, maybe offer a small bounce here, but then continue lower, bounce again here maybe. And then after that, I would like for price to start getting fairly impulsive and take out this double bottom. Okay. So that would be my plan for this week. That would be the target. I will put this as the Sunday plan. I apologize if I yapped a bit too much before this, but I just wanted to cover everything. I hope that you guys didn't get too bored. Could you please show in detail when you see imbalances still wrapping my head around you seeing them and marking them out? Maybe you could go through another example. So could you please show in detail when you see imbalances still wrapping my head? So are you talking about, I guess you're talking about my indicator, right? If I'm understanding your question right, because I use imbalances just relating to my indicator. If you're asking about something else, I cannot help you there because I trade my indicator. And I guess I want to put this in the Sunday plan as well because I will not be trading this level. Okay, so this is the Sunday plan, guys. Do you like that 4-hour candle on Friday? I just talked about it. I don't mind it. I know it's a big wick, but I've just explained my thought process on why I don't mind that high. You know, sometimes you have big wicks, and the last time we had a big wick and I decided to ignore it, well, in the end, I kind of changed my mind, I have to admit. But on Sunday, which was down there, I told you guys that even though we had a very ugly wick, I didn't want to see this one filled out. And guess what? We didn't fill that wick. So it's not always when you see an ugly wick that you want to see the fill. You have to build context around it this time. You can go back to the live stream. I did say that I did not want this wick to get filled. Guess what? We did not fill that wick. So right now I kind of have the same thought process. I just don't want this wick to get filled. I've explained why. I hope that this is clear enough. So Ejoy, could you tell me if you're talking about my indicator and maybe detail your question a bit more so I can help you out? So on the lower time frames, do I have any resistance? You could definitely take the open of this 1-hour candle, but even then I wouldn't like this one to get reached at 72.4. I think at this point, if we reach this open, it will start to get sketchy. So hopefully Bitcoin can top out around this area. How long is the CME open in? 22, so it's still in 4 hours. We have 4 hours until the CME. Okay. Something to keep in mind. The weekly open is going to be fairly important, guys. Okay, so you can keep an eye on the CME this today. I mean, for me, I just don't care because I'm already in my short position. I'm not going to touch my stop loss. Any short ideas if we miss the short, assuming the high holds? 30-minute. Well, you had a 30-minute imbalance up here, so I guess you could have shorted this, but then it's, you know, the reason I'm keeping my stop loss up here is that I'm not too sure how deep Bitcoin will retrace, right? Because if I wanted to be, if I was very confident in a resistance below, then I would have moved my stop loss there. That's why I'm keeping my stop loss above my entry, which would give me a loss. Because I just don't see any super strong resistance here, I have to be honest. It's just, I guess what they're doing, if my thought process is right, is that they're just kind of chopping the longs. This kind of proves my point. They're chopping the longs, offering a big move up right before the CME open to get a very quick drop going into the CME open and the Monday open. That would be my thought process. So it kind of reminds me of last week, but on the opposite side. Last week, what we got the CME open, we got a big drop and then a straight reversal up into Monday. Right now, again, that's just my thought process. I think what they're doing is just offering that move up. We get the CME open and then we get a straight drop to the downside. But the problem, of course, is that if you're not in a short position, where do you want to put your stop loss? Maybe I'm wrong on my stop loss, guys. Maybe I get stopped out and then we come back down. I think it's unlikely, but you get my point. That's why I don't like to give signals, because sometimes I will be wrong on my stop loss, like I was wrong last week. I took my short here and I got stopped out, and then price came back down. So you just have to manage this for yourself. I don't like giving people stop losses. I don't like giving you entries. I just give you the overall thought process, which are going to be the support levels and the imbalances, which I'm always very confident in. For the entry and the stop loss, it just depends on your leverage, your size, your style of trading, your risk tolerance. It just depends on a lot of different factors. So yeah. Can you explain the CME more here and why it has value in this specific scenario? Well, the way you look at it is that, at least the way I look at it, is that mainly you have two main types of CME plays. The first type plays out much more often, and that is that you don't get a CME gap, meaning you open the week either right on the CME close, which this time would be around, I think it's around the daily open, so around 71.2 is the CME close, so it's right there at 71.3 on Bybit. So if we open around here and you go over to the CME, we're not gonna get the CME gap. CME gap have an extremely high fill rate. Guess what happened last week? We had a CME gap, and if you followed my advice, so you were in a short position and you wanted to long my support, targeting at least the fill of that CME gap, that would have been a very nice trade. So usually when you have a CME gap, you target the fill of that gap. Now the second play is that you get a runaway gap. Now these don't happen as often, but that's when you form a gap and you just don't fill it. This gap, we talked about it in the time when we did our Sunday live stream. What I told you guys, it was extremely unlikely to fill that gap. And guess what happened? We didn't fill that gap. Like, it's not so much to like say, oh, I'm good and I'm not good, but usually I'm pretty good at understanding when it's time to get a runaway gap and when it's not time to get a runaway gap. The only other time I talked about a runaway gap was at $107,000. It was right there. It was this one. And guess what? If you guys, again, you can go over to the Discord. When we got this gap, I woke up on Monday. I told you guys that I didn't believe that this gap would get filled, and I opened the long up here. Okay, again, this gap didn't get filled and we ended up moving much, much, much higher. So this week, the way that I'm looking at it is that it doesn't really make sense to get a runaway gap. We spent the entire week going sideways, building liquidity. So I think what they're trying to do is just keep people confused until the weekly open. And then when you get the CME open, you don't have a gap to fill, so people don't really have a target to open trades, and then you get a straight move to the downside. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. Okay, so I don't know if that was detailed enough. CME gaps are, I'm guessing mainly runaway CME gaps are extremely context dependent, but what I'm trying to say here is that it's not a scenario, at least in my opinion, to get a runaway gap, okay? Because the high was pretty, I mean, it's a pretty obvious high, right? You have a massive wick, so people are gonna short a lot over the weekend. It just makes sense to stop these people out. You get the trap with the 4-hour imbalance, and then you reverse it down right after the CME opens. So everyone who was scared of a runaway CME gap, you stop these people out, and now you get the reversal to the downside. Is it clear enough? I hope it is, man. I really try to I try to make it as simple as possible, but I mean, yeah. My trading is very simple. I just hope that I'm able to put it into words for it to be simple for you guys. Just need help personally to see imbalances on the chart, not necessarily show your indicator. when you want to trade, just mark them out manually. Wait, well, I have an indicator because I don't mark out imbalances manually. Mainly what I, if you're talking not about my indicator, you want to focus on very strong volume spikes. When you see the volume spikes, usually you form highs and lows. This is why if you go back on the 30 minutes, it's just not a coincidence that we didn't have a top, so price move higher, because we just didn't have any imbalance. Where are the imbalances on the pumps? You don't have the imbalances. So if you're looking for a high at $71,000 that will send you all the way down to $60,000, you would expect that they would trap as many people as possible to get the drop as quick and as aggressively as possible, right? Because if you need to have a big drop, then you need to build enough liquidity to get the drop and grab all of these stop losses and liquidations. If you don't trap the long positions, how do you want to get a big drop? And that's why, once again, what I was telling you the entire week is that don't chase the short, wait for the imbalances. Okay? So just focus on volume spikes. If you don't have my indicator, then I cannot give you more information than that. You will have to study volume on your own. That's why I have my indicator, because I have back tested and seen the best thing that I want to focus on using my indicator. But it's that simple. I focus on volume spikes, and I know that usually when you have a drop and you have a volume spike right at the low, this usually tells you that people are chasing the short positions, and then you get a reversal to the upside. Same thing on the pump. When you have a move to the upside and you see multiple, so you see volume spikes right at the highs, for my indicator it would mean imbalances. When you see imbalances right at the highs and price is not really moving, you have very small bodies, it is telling you that everyone is longing prices, but price is not really moving, meaning they are selling into these people and preparing for reversal to the downside, which is exactly what you got. Same thing right here. Let's go back over to Bybit. What happened? We got a move up, we got an imbalance, which offered a very decent job for the weekend. Guess what is happening now on the 4-hour? So on the 4-hour, we are seeing that move up. We have the imbalance right at the highs. People are longing into this. That's why I'm expecting lower prices. And that's what trading is about. It doesn't matter if you have freaking Fibonacci's, because Fibonacci's in themselves, they don't represent anything. That's why, maybe I shouldn't, but that's why I make fun of people that use Fibonacci, because taking a high and a low, guys, okay? So taking, say, this and then saying, oh guys, look, we have 382, we have 50%, we have golden pocket. This is not doing technical analysis. You're not doing anything here. Like, a 5-year-old can take the low and the high and read out these levels. This is not called technical analysis. Technical analysis is about understanding where liquidity will come from. And that's why every single week, our channel is literally one of one, because no one else does this every single week. That's why every single week I'm able to give you one level, and most of the time our levels will get respected. That's because I understand liquidity. It's not because Fibonacci, it's not because of VWAPs, it's not because of freaking order flow or anything. It's just because I understand liquidity. And liquidity is based on volume, okay? That's how the markets move. It moves based on volume. Doesn't move based on anything else, okay? Based on what you decide if the gap is fillable or not, what do you look at? Okay, so we can go to both of the last runaway gaps and you will understand my point. So if we look at this gap, okay, so take the date, it was on the 30th of January. I want to go to an empty chart. It's fine, let's go over to Bybit actually. So if you look at what happened here with the voice crack, so you can go on the 4-hour, the 30th of January. So it was right there that we got the weekly close, okay? Right there we got the weekly close, so the CME starts there. What happened? Look at what happened over the entire week. We opened the week, we got the chop into FOMC. That was an FOMC meeting. We topped out into the FOMC with a lot of imbalances. Let's go on the 1-hour chart. What did we have up there? we had imbalances. I remember on Binance, I won't go over to Binance now because I don't want to waste time, but on Binance, I think we had even more imbalances. So you get a move up into the FOMC, and after that, you get a massive reversal to the downside. So you have to ask yourself, what is the point of offering such a big job without getting any retracements? The point of getting such a big drop without getting any retracements to the upside is very simply to leave people on the sidelines. Okay, that's not for anything else. You keep on dropping prices, people who are waiting for retracement do not get it, they get stuck on the sidelines, they start chasing the long positions because they're annoyed, and you keep on dropping prices much and much lower. So when you see that they left people on the sidelines and then they continue doing this over the weekend, you would say to yourself that it doesn't really make sense to offer these people a retracement, a fill of the CME gap, which everyone keeps in mind, so a very easy entry on the short position and then reverse price to the downside. It would be such an easy short. Everyone, once again, is on the sidelines because you didn't get any retracement. So would you get a perfect retracement to fill the CME gap and then drop prices lower? My opinion was no. And I said this live in the time. Once again, you can go back over the live stream. I said that filling the CME gap was extremely unlikely. And guess what happened? We never filled the CME gap. So basically what you have to do when you look at CME gaps is ask yourself, what was the point of moving prices during the weekend? Was it to build liquidity, or was it to leave people on the sidelines? The best way you can figure this out is by understanding overall market context. Because what happened last week? We had a drop on Sunday, late Sunday, and we had a decently big CME gap. So in this case, if someone was bearish, they could have been under the impression that this runaway CME gap was to leave people on the sidelines. But for myself, as I had a big support level there and I wanted to see a deep retracement to the upside, it just made sense to me to not get a runaway gap, fill that gap, so that was a trap. You trap everyone on the weekly open, you get massive fear on war news, and then you get a deep retracement to the upside, okay? So the best way you can figure out if a CME gap will be a runaway gap or not is simply to ask yourself, is it time to move prices much lower or much higher? Okay. So again, I hope it's simple enough to understand. I will give you one last example very quickly, which was the second runaway gap that I talked about. I mean, it was it was right there. Okay. So right there. Note the date, 26th of September. I will show this one very quickly to not waste too much time. What was the point of that runaway gap, and why did I open around I think, yes, 111.6 was my long position. Why? We had a massive drop on Bitcoin. We had this low that everyone was talking about on Twitter at $107,000. Personally, I told you 1 million times that we could not lose that low if Bitcoin wanted to move higher. So you get a massive drop into the weekend. You go sideways for the entire weekend. So what is the point of dropping super hard and going sideways? Well, it's to build short positions. What does retail do? They see a big drop, they see sideways, they believe that this is a bear flag, drop sideways, it's a bear flag, and price will continue lower. But guess what? It's just building liquidity to move prices much higher. You can confirm this with the imbalances. You had an imbalance right there on this drop before getting the sweep of that low. You had another imbalance right there, you had another imbalance right there, and you had another imbalance right there. So you can see that most of the imbalances are happening on the drops. So people are building the short positions, and guess what happened? You get a massive reversal going into the weekly open. So in this case, what did they do? They dropped prices. Everyone was waiting for the sweep of that low. You front run these people, you create a very big CME gap. So most people, what will they say? Well, we have this low, we have a big CME gap, it just makes sense to drop, fill the gap, and then take out this low. Personally, you guys know my view at the time, that's why I opened a long position. I want to see higher prices. I mean, I didn't want to see higher prices, but after seeing this, I turned bullish. So it just made sense to me to get a runaway gap. You leave people who missed the long position on the sidelines. You offer a very small retracement, not big enough to allow most people to open a long position, and then you send prices much higher. Okay, so once again, you just have to understand the context. What did they do right before forming a gap? Was it after a big drop and then sideways price action, so a lot of shorts were being built? What is market sentiment? Do you have a low that everyone is targeting? You basically have to do this exercise a lot of times and mainly just understand liquidity overall. Okay, uh how to best combine lower time frame imbalances with the higher time frame imbalances? Once again, you just have to build context. Like, I combine imbalances with my bias. If I want to see higher prices, right there, if I want to see higher prices, I will say we have a drop into support, we have a 4-hour imbalance, we have my support, we have wake. Well, in this case, of course, it was much harder to enter because my support got front run by like $5 and it was on Sunday, so that was a hard long position. But usually what I would say is that we have a drop into support. This is a very late imbalance. You have a massive drop. You have a late imbalance right at the lows into support. And then when I see this, I go on the lower time frames to see if this higher time frame imbalance is accompanied by lower time frame imbalances. This is not the best example, I have to admit, because this is a very large candle. So on its own, it's not a reversal pattern. I guess this Friday was a much better example. You guys know I'm high time frame bearish. I want this to get taken out. We are moving into the range highs. We had the 4-hour imbalance. So what do I say to myself? Okay, we have higher time frame volume coming in, but I cannot enter, at least for the way that I trade, I cannot enter from the 4-hour chart. So what do? I go on the 1 hour. There is your imbalance on the lower time frames, and then the lowest that I dropped to is the 30 minutes. We had two down there on Bybit, but the most interesting one was Binance. You had three 30-minute imbalances, and that's how I combine higher time frames and lower time frames. So I will start on the daily. Right there, we had two daily imbalances. If you guys remember, I longed this. I went on the 4-hour. We had a 4-hour imbalance right down there, and then I went on the 30 minutes. And what did we have right at the low? We had a 30-minute imbalance. You can see this blue candle. So I just start with my bias, and then I start on the daily. Okay, I go on the 12-hour, I go on the 4-hour, I go on the 1-hour, and I go on the 30 minutes. That's how I do it. Hey Habib, sorry for tuning in late. Love your lives. Love you, bro. Stay strong. Thank you for the for the kind words, Francesco. It's nice to see you. So I guess I answered all your questions. We can quickly move on to Ethereum. The funny thing about Ethereum this week is that it did, for the short, it did what I wanted Bitcoin to do, which is you take this 4-hour imbalance, this wickless 4-hour imbalance, and what I told you guys on Bitcoin, not on Ethereum, is that I didn't want this high to get taken out. But what happened on Ethereum? Ethereum followed this plan much better than Bitcoin. We moved straight into that level, as you can see. That was the resistance for the entire week. Resistance, resistance, resistance. We didn't take out that high, which is exactly what I had said on Bitcoin. And then when we took out that high, this is when we got the push much higher. So Ethereum actually had a very clean price action this week, I have to admit. That was the exact setup that I had on Bitcoin that played out a bit less accurately, I have to admit. But on Ethereum, it was really perfect. We moved straight into that level, which acted as resistance for the entire week before being broken to the upside. So on Ethereum, what would I like to see? I mean, it would be the exact same thing as Bitcoin, right? It doesn't matter. So would be the exact same thing on Bitcoin, right? We got the sweep on Ethereum, which is better than Bitcoin. We got the sweep of that high. We got the rejection. We got the 4-hour imbalance on the 1-hour. We had 3 1-hour imbalances, which got the top one got recovered. So that was your first sign of weakness. So on Ethereum, I think I mean, same plan as Bitcoin. You guys know I say this every single week. If I want to see lower on Bitcoin, I would like to see lower on Ethereum. Nothing special there. If you have any questions about maybe support and resistances, let me know. But what I would say is that just follow Bitcoin's chart. When you buy stocks, how much capital do you risk per trade? Also, do you manage risk with stop loss? Well, it just for the stocks, it's really dependent on the stocks. Sometimes I will take a position with like 30% of my portfolio. Sometimes it will be 5% of my portfolio. So it's mainly dependent on the stock that I'm looking for. And of course, the actual market's position, right? Can go to the stock market. You know, I had the resistance up here for a while. So let's say I was buying a stock up here that I liked because it was on a nice discount, like Netflix, for example. We did talk about Netflix, right? It was on a very nice discount. So what I will do in this case is that I will size down and I will enter, for example, with 15% of my portfolio. And usually for both investing and trading, I don't have a stop loss because I have a soft stop loss. I know what I want to see next. Okay, if I see weakness, okay, I know that I have to exit manually. I don't need a hard stop loss. And usually when I get the move into my direction, this is when I can place a hard stop loss. Can you talk more about how to become a good trader psychologically? Learn patience. That's the best advice I can give you. Learn patience. From my experience, my biggest downfall in trading was patience. Is that I had a plan and I just wasn't patient. I opened many different trades and I just got wrecked. So if you really want to become a good trader, be patient. That's honestly the best advice that I can give you. The strategy, trust me, the strategy will be 10 times less important because even if you have a strategy that has a like 40% win rate, I mean 40% is very easy to get. If you take trades that are like 4 to 1 RRR, 4 to 1, and you have a 40% win rate, as long as you stick to that, you will make money because 4 to 1, 40% win rate, you will be profitable. So yeah, all you have to do is just be patient. Again, we can talk about the shorts this week. I know not everyone has my strategy imbalances, but I just saw so many people shorting this move early. To me, like it didn't make sense because I didn't have the imbalances. Once again, I know not everyone has my strategy, but you need a trigger to understand when people are longing into the highs. You cannot just open a short position because you're getting impatient and then oh yeah, like uh, I take this short and then I get stopped out. And people on Twitter this week, what did they do? I saw again, they take the loss, they don't share the loss, and then they move on like nothing happened. Like if you want to be impatient, share a bad short position, take a loss, and not share the loss, you should get off of Twitter, man. These people are like the lowest scums of the earth. It's like they make people lose money and they don't even share their losses. Like at least have the decency if you share a position to share the loss when it happens. Because these people, all they do is share their winners. So I guess first advice would be stop following scammers. Stop following people who only share their wins, who never talk about their losses, and who always give you bad setups. And also people who always do hindsight analysis. If someone is always here, oh yeah, now this high happened because of that, he's doing hindsight analysis, bro, forget that person. He will just ruin your trading. And I'm telling you this from experience. You know how much money I lost because I followed freaking idiots that shared like 50 different support levels. And oh yeah, guys, Fibonacci, we have a support here and then a support here and then a support here, and they give me like 5 different supports and I don't even understand what's happening. So if you want to make it in trading, stop following idiots that give you 5 different support levels on every move and 5 different resistance levels. Follow people who don't do hindsight analysis. Follow people who give you clear plans. I mean, if you want to follow someone, of course. I personally don't follow anyone. Um, and of course, the most important advice is just be patient. Be patient. When you have a plan, follow the plan. If you take a loss, it's fine. It's a loss. Everyone takes losses. Like, it's not something that's a shame if you take a loss. It happens. And that's why I really dislike the social media space around trading because No one shares their losses. Even the most popular traders who claim to be profitable, they don't share their losses. Never. It just never happens. And that's the best advice that I can give you. Because for most people, I get it. You don't have time to be a full-time trader and to backtest a strategy and to create an indicator and so on. So you have to follow someone. That's what I used to do. But most people are not here to help you. You have to understand this. Most people are here just for ego and for money, right? They sell courses for like $500 a month. They share very bad technical analysis. They don't share their losses. They insult people when they're in the wrong. It's just the worst industry ever um, to follow people. I'm like I could call out so many big traders. Of course, I won't because one, I just don't care about them. But it's just to wake you guys up. The guys that you think are good traders online, they're actually the worst traders ever. Like their technical analysis is so freaking bad. I'm not joking. It's actually insane how they get followers. And then I saw someone who's like extremely popular on Twitter and claims to be, that's my last point on this, and claims to be an amazing trader. And he sells his Discord for like, I think it's like $6,000 a year. It's like, bro, what are you doing, man? Honestly, like, what are you doing? Why would someone pay $6,000 a year to follow bad signals? Like, what the frick, man? And if you're a trader who makes money, why do you need to sell such freaking expensive things? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Anyway, I'm done yapping about this. Solana, personally, I shorted Sol at the high. Well, Solana, my view hasn't changed. Solana, that is the bear market target on Solana. Bear market target, $51. Okay, so that remains my target on Solana. You know, of course, if you are in a short from the high, good job. I'm not in a short from the high on Bitcoin. Volume is good. You have a daily imbalance up there. So exact same thing as Bitcoin, right? Now, Solana could play out a bit differently because I can instantly spot this. This 4-hour open, which hasn't been tested. You can see on Bitcoin, by the way, we did test this 4-hour imbalance to the dollar. This open. So just keep an eye on this open on Solana that could get tested at $90, okay? But overall, it would be the same plan as Bitcoin. If you move up into it, I would just expect a reversal to the downside. Not much to say. I want to follow you in depth. Well, that's good to hear because I'm here to help you, and as long as I can give one scenario per week and very few levels and be right most of the time, then I know that I'm helping people. So as long as I have good TA, I'm gonna stay here. If ever for some reason I start getting very bad at TA, I'm just gonna stop YouTube, honestly, because I'm not here to make you lose money. I don't think it's a fun experience to make people lose money. So yeah, that would be it, guys. Bitcoin, expecting a reversal to the downside. I am still in my short with my stop loss still. Well, that's a nice reversal, guys. I told you we had the 4-hour imbalance. So my stop loss is still in losses. It's not at entry. I would ideally like to see lower prices. Now, of course, just keep in mind, if we take out this double top, I will update you in the Discord tomorrow if I'm looking for a short position, because we have to be cautious to the upside. To me, if we break $76,000, I think this would mark a bottom on Bitcoin. I don't think this will happen, but it's just something I wanted to outline. And that's why I am in a short, because I don't think this will happen. Do you think you will ever get bad at TA? No, because this is my life. I mean, I freaking live in front of the charts, and most importantly, I do pray that I have the Holy Spirit on my side. So as long as the Holy Spirit wants me to help you, I will stay here and I will help you guys. So that's all I can say. I don't think the talent is just from hard work. I think it's a big part of the Holy Spirit. I like, just ask yourself, guys, okay? I'm probably one of the youngest people in this YouTube industry that claims to be good, even though I do get every TA right. So why do these people who have 20 years of experience Some people have 20 years of experience and they cannot even make 50% of my predictions. Is it just because of hard work or is there something else? For me, I think there's something else, but of course you can disagree. I have seen you grow massively in T over the past year in any case. Well, thanks a lot. I do appreciate the kind words. Would be interested in crypto stocks? You mean crypto slash stocks? I guess once the bear market comes. Oh, you actually mean crypto stocks. I know you'll update us when you start thinking about stocks, but just asking in advance. Oh, okay, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, I mean, you guys know. I guess we can move on to the stock market on this point. The stock market, this is the resistance. Guess where we are dropping from our resistance, and we still have this ugly low to get taken out. So until this gets taken out on the S&P, that would be 6.5k. Until this gets taken out, of course, I would still expect lower prices. We'll have to see how most stocks get affected, because I have to be honest, I'm not tracking most stocks like Nvidia. Actually, it's still at the highs. Google still, yeah, I think we need to see a bigger drop in specific stocks. You guys know, we talked about Netflix, but that one was a massive discount. Most stocks are actually holding up. I just checked Nvidia. This thing has barely dropped. It's not even 10%. Oh, it is. Okay, 15%, yeah. Okay, 20%. No, I still think we need a bigger drop. But then, of course, once again, it just depends on the stock that you're looking at. For example, AMD, not deep enough. We still have that gap, in my opinion. So, I mean, I told you guys before what I look for in a stock, right? For the chart, it will be at least 50%. For massive stocks, like it could be, let's say, 35 to 40%, but for most stocks, it will be 50%. For example, once again, I repeat Netflix because we literally talked about it at the bottom. It wasn't 50% exactly, it was 45%. But for such a massive stock, should you make a big deal for 5%? I don't think that you should. Okay. Crypto related stocks. Yeah, I get what you mean. If you want my honest opinion, avoid crypto related stocks. One stock I am keeping an eye on, Break. Oh, frick. What happened? Why did it bounce so high? Dude, oh man. So I was keeping an eye on this stock and I completely missed it, dude. You can see I had this. That was the first target for the drop, which got taken out. Man, 140%. Oh. Oh, that's annoying. That is very annoying. I mean, yeah, that was the only crypto related stock I was keeping an eye on, and I clearly missed my entry. Oh, that's bad. That's bad. Well, yeah, but overall, not financial advice, but personally, I would heavily avoid crypto related stocks. Okay? Uh, that just annoyed me, man. That just annoyed me. Okay, guys, remember, if we lose 70.1, to me, it's GG. To me. Okay, I think once we lose this, it should be a fairly easy road to $60,000. We don't really have any more support inside of this range. I don't think we do. What do you think macroeconomically will happen in the next couple of years? Bro, I have no idea. You're asking me too much. I have no idea. I just operate based on the charts. I used to track macros a lot, and I actually still do, but I just don't try to relate it to the markets anymore. I just do it out of like interest because I like it still. I like macroeconomics, but apart from this, what I think will happen, I think the same thing will happen. The dollar will get strong. Ooh, guys, who talked about the dollar? Who said that the dollar would go lower? I'm sure it's not me. I think the dollar will get much, much, much stronger over the next couple of years because, dude, everyone was calling for the end of the dollar. Nah, this is definitely the end, bro. I think the dollar will go higher, I guess, if that's what you're asking. I think the US will still do like very fine in its industries. I mean, just take Google, just take Nvidia, Tesla, AMD, Palantir, even though I hate the stock. I think still mainly what we've seen for the last decades, but I think I I don't want to talk too much in the future, but I guess that's what I will say for now. Just the dollar up, I guess crypto will now be a much bigger player than most people actually expect. I think once we put in a bear market low, which I am expecting around 58 to 54, I think crypto will take off very aggressively and will become a much more important asset. And then I think precious metals will go down. If that's Is that what you're asking about, Jean-Pierre? Is that what you're asking about? Is it related to the markets or is it related to something else? No, yeah, this is funny. This is funny. Everyone was saying this is the end of the dollar. Um, why would you say keep away from crypto related stocks? You mean short term or in general? I would say in general. The reason I'm saying this and that the only stock I was tracking was Circle is just because, but that's just my own view. Of course, you could disagree. I just believe that 99% of projects in crypto are scams. But again, that's just my view. You can disagree. That's why I told you guys I only bought Ethereum spot and any other coin I wouldn't touch them, including Solana. Even though, yes, I do think Solana maybe could go much higher, I just don't trust this project. I'm just being honest. I do not trust it. I do not trust Binance. I do not trust XRP. I don't trust any of these. Maybe it's me. I'm a bit crazy. Okay, maybe I'm that guy, but that's just how I look at crypto. I think 99% of it are scams, and I would have loved for most of them to go towards zero now. I will say these are still very good jobs, and maybe these projects are already dead. But yeah. So, except if you have a good company that's audited like Circle, it's a stable coin. You have banks already that are using Circle. They do have good partnerships. They're on the stock market, very importantly. So except if you have like very trustable stocks like this, I just wouldn't look at anything. And you can see, I missed my entry, guys. So I'm not in this stock, but you can see that this stock is proving its worth. It's literally up 150%, dude. How did I miss that? So it's up 150%. So just be cautious when you invest in crypto. Okay, it's still a pretty scammy industry from my point of view. Still a lot of scammers. Look, I'm an entrepreneur, so for me, I'm interested economics in general, but also you combining in a general market view is very interesting for me. Hmm. Well, economics in general, I think you just have to base everything around the dollar. Or am I mistaken? That's personally how I look at it. If I think the dollar will go higher, I think I think potentially US bonds, for example, will be interesting. So that could mean that interest rates will be more attractive in the US. Uh, I don't know, man. I haven't really formed a view in the outside of the charts with a voice crack, dude. What's up with my voice cracks today? But yeah, I don't want to say anything stupid. So like something outside of the charts. On the charts, I'm very confident in my skills. Outside of that, I don't. I think you have people like one person I like a lot. If you want a referral, it's Lynn Alden. I think she's extremely intelligent, and she's the one I personally follow the most. But yeah, that's just my view. I mean, my view. I mean, yeah. I don't really have a personal view on the macroeconomics. I mainly combine it with the charts. okay, which included the dollar, of course. When everyone was calling for lower prices, while we got a massive man, that's really a big move for the dollars, guys. I don't think you realize 5% on the dollar is massive. So yeah, what happened to oil actually? What is this? Yeah, no. Okay, so the more voice cracks, the better this should be. Yeah, for you guys. Dude, I need more testosterone or something. I don't mean TRT, guys. Don't take steroids, please. This is the stupidest thing ever. Um. So on this note, I think we can end it here. That was a nice live stream. We covered everything I wanted to cover. So I will recap Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum and Solana. So if you guys have any last questions, leave them in the live chat. One thing I will say as well is, of course, if you could leave a like on the live stream, that would be massively appreciated. So hopefully we can help more people not getting scammed by these idiots on YouTube that give you 15 different support levels and that are always on the wrong side of the market. That was such well delivered. That was so well delivered. Um, when oil goes up, the dollar goes up. I don't know. Aren't you sure? I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Anyway, so I will do a recap on Bitcoin once again. If you guys do think oil is gonna shoot higher, I don't have any info on oil. I'm not good at analyzing oil. I don't really understand the chart. It's just not a good chart to analyze. I'm being honest. So don't ask for my opinion on oil. I will give you the worst analysis on oil ever. So I'm just not gonna give my opinion on this. I'm just being honest. I don't have an analysis on oil. Um, so for Bitcoin, let's take it slow. I would like to see lower prices this week. We have seen a very nice 4-hour imbalance up here. We have seen a 1-hour imbalance that has got recovered now, so this is very good. The CME open will be fairly important if price wants to move lower, in my opinion. It will not waste too much time staying up here because we have got the chop. On the 30 minutes, we got an imbalance up here. On the 4-hour, we got our imbalance. So I think price should be fairly ready to drop. The massive support level to hold, in my opinion, will be $70,100, which I will not be longing. Why? Because price is just too high, in my opinion. So it's late to look for long positions. Now, on the other hand, if I am wrong and price actually takes out this double top, then we will have to see tomorrow, will I look for another short position? So do we get, for example, a failed auction above these highs? Have to be honest, I'm very cautious about this scenario. I would not really like it, but we'll have to see tomorrow. In any case, just be aware of it. This remains a resistance until proven otherwise. But for now, I am in a short, I am holding my short, and I would like to see lower prices, taking out $60,000. For Ethereum, it would be the exact same thing. For Solana, it would be the exact same thing. Keep an eye maybe on $90 for Solana. And for the bear market target, it still has not been reached on this coin, which for myself is $51. Okay, so if you are interested in Solana, I think this is a very interesting level. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. So doesn't look like we have any more questions. On this note, I will tell you everyone, thank you for the live chats, thank you for the likes, thank you for all the kind words, thank you for everything. I'm just here to help you, not like nothing more. Okay, I try my best every week, and hopefully this will help you realize how many scammers actually don't know how to do technical analysis. That's not to say that I'm better than them. I'm just trying to help you not lose a freaking lot of money. Okay. So on this note, enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I will see you tomorrow morning inside the Discord. If anyone is new, by the way, you can join the Discord. The link should be available either in the comments or in the description of this live stream. So once again, goodbye guys, enjoy your evening, and I will see you tomorrow morning.